All right, it looks like most people have joined us. So good evening, welcome. We are pleased to have you this evening to talk about our STEM and course-based research experiences. My name is Dan Murphy. I work with our marketing enrollment team, and I will be guiding you through this webinar today. Before we begin, just an outline of the agenda for the session today. So first, we'll provide a very brief overview of the Brown Pre-College program. We'll then talk about how to apply, how to submit the application, and then I'll introduce our two guest panelists tonight, who are going to talk a little bit more about our STEM courses with Summer at Brown, including our course-based research experiences. We will then conclude with a live Q&A. We have received some questions ahead of time, and then we will also be taking questions live. Tonight's session should take about 30 minutes or so, and it will be recorded and will be uploaded to our website and our YouTube page within the next week. So if you want to pass this along to someone or you want to refer back to this webinar, just check our website and our YouTube in about a week from today, and it should be there. And then there's also closed captioning available. So if you would like closed captioning tonight, if you click on the little CC button at the bottom of your screen, that will turn on the closed captionings for you. A few housekeeping things. So as we're going throughout this evening in this webinar, if any questions come to mind, utilize the Q&A chat function at the bottom of your screen to submit any and all questions. And we will try to answer as many as we possibly can. We do have one of our program advisors with us this evening behind the scenes who will try to answer as many of the questions as we go along as well. And then just a friendly reminder, everything we're about to go over this evening is available on our website. So we highly recommend taking some time, go to the website precollege.brown.edu, review all the programs, our course catalog, and that's where you'll find the most up-to-date information. So let's dive in. So a brief overview of Brown Pre-College program. So each year we welcome more than 6,000 high school students from over 70 countries, including across the United States, who choose to spend part of their summer with us, whether that's here in Providence, Rhode Island, at locations around the world, or online. These students explore over 300 courses that are intentionally crafted to emulate the undergraduate open curriculum here at Brown, which we will talk a little bit more this evening about. The structure of Brown's pre-college program reflects the freedoms and the responsibilities that are also critically important parts of the college experience. So as a result, you will balance the challenge of the college level academics with the enriching social activities and educational workshops that are available, whether you choose to study on campus or online. So regardless of which program you are interested in, the first step in your pre-college experience is completing our application. So our application is actually designed to mirror the common application that's used by many colleges and universities. So as such, the pre-college application process will actually help prepare you for that college application process, including adding your transcripts and thinking through and crafting an essay based on unique writing prompts. Our summer 2024 application is now open, and the deadline for applying is Friday, May 10th. We always encourage you, if you know that this is where you want to come or you're interested, always apply sooner rather than later. On our website, you can find your application checklist by clicking the apply button at the very top of the page. And that's where you'll find your essay prompt, any grade requirements, and anything else that you'll need to provide us with for a complete application. There's also a video on that page, which is a video tutorial, and it gives you a walkthrough of how to complete the application. So if you want to just walk through it before gathering all of your materials, that's an excellent resource as well. And so that's just a very general, brief overview of the Brown Pre-College program and how to apply. So I'm going to turn it over to the main event this evening, our two panelists this evening. So I'm pleased to introduce Abby, who is the Director of STEM Programs, and Karen, the Associate Director of Engineering Programs with Brown Pre-College. Hi, Abby. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Dan. Good evening. Hi, everybody.
I'm going to let you take over.
Abby, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself first?
That sounds great. Hello, everyone. My name is Abbey Aevazelis, she, her pronouns, and I'm the Associate Director of Pre-College Programs and the Director of STEM Programs.
And my name is Karen Haberstroh. I use she, her pronouns. I am the Associate Director for Engineering Programs, and I also oversee technology and math courses within Summer at Brown in person and also Summer at Brown online. So I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about, as Dan mentioned, about how our pre-college courses really mirror courses within Brown's undergraduate programs. So one of the hallmarks of Brown, as you've probably heard before, is the open curriculum. The open curriculum refers to the fact that Brown students, Brown undergraduate students, don't have to take a set of general education requirements during their undergraduate degree and before they graduate. Instead, they develop a personalized course of study, and they choose what they want to study and have flexibility to really discover what it is that they love along the way. Brown also really values students taking advantage of its breadth and depth of offerings. So as an example, an engineering student at Brown is encouraged to take classes in economics, in art history, and so on. So the exciting thing then is that they're taking these classes with world-renowned experts in those fields. Courses at Brown are also really interdisciplinary, and they often tie in with graduate and faculty research. And finally, and I would say especially in STEM courses at Brown, one of the things that I'd like to highlight is the fact that there are a lot of really hands-on project-based courses and also group learning. So in a very similar way, we've tried to mirror our pre-college offerings to the Brown undergraduate curriculum. So they exist over a really wide range of topical areas, many even across disciplines. We encourage students to explore all of our offerings and find a class that really speaks to them. Courses are taught by graduate students and faculty who are leaders in their field and who are passionate about sharing that knowledge with the students that are part of the pre-college programs. Our courses focus on exposure to a field and not on mastery, but they're still really rigorous and they encourage independent thinking and learning. So in this way, they help prepare students for the college environment and for college learning. And the last thing I'll say is that courses in the pre-college programs are non-credit bearing, and students receive a certificate of completion if they're successful in their course.
So now you might ask, with so many STEM courses, what should a student consider when looking at our catalog? Well, the first thing you should do is navigate the actual course catalog. You can find it at precollege.brown.edu. You can see on the screen here the elements I'm going to discuss. So consider the type of program and course that you want to engage in over the summer. If you're most interested in being on campus and you meet the age and grade level requirements, you can select Summer at Brown as your program type. If you want to see all that Brown Pre-College has to offer, keep the program type filter open for the most variety. To help narrow the options you want, you can filter by subject area, date, and length of course, as well as format. If you try a search that's too large or too narrow, adjust your filters accordingly. And try a keyword search in the search bar. You'll get various results. For example, DNA returns 4 courses. Hands-on, you'll find 21. Science policy gives you 3 courses, while science gives you 78 options. Play around with the words that are important to you and see what comes up. The next thing you need to think about is, what will you be most excited about studying? What are you passionate about? How do you feel the information you will learn will help you grow or even change the world? I've got faith in you. Consider the type of experience. Do you want a hands-on or a seminar style course? Do you want to be in a laboratory or workshop environment? Conduct research? Do you want to produce a final product or presentation as a showcase of your learning? And then find a few courses that resonate with you. Your perfect fit. Then go outside the box. We challenge you to also look for courses adjacent to the area you think you're interested in. As our courses are interdisciplinary, you can stretch your learning and understanding of what you enjoy or what you're interested in by pursuing and being open to new content. Then, even if the course you want is full, don't limit yourself by just sitting on a wait list and hoping for a spot to open. Find a second or a third choice that you're just as excited about. And with 280 courses in the Summer at Brown catalog alone, you have so many options to choose from. And if you have questions about specific courses, our wonderful team of program advisors can help you navigate the catalog and even narrow down options. And lastly, pay attention to the prerequisites that are listed on the courses. We want you to have a successful experience. One way to do that is to make sure the class you choose is a good fit for your interests and your prior experience and background.
So Abby just talked about the process of choosing a course from the catalog. That course could actually be on campus or online. So I'm going to talk for a few minutes about some hallmarks of the on-campus experience, and then I'll spend some time talking about online. But specifically thinking about on campus, what I'd like to have you think about is, what do students actually do in an on-campus class? And more specifically, what do students do when they are not in their class? So of course, when you're on campus, you'll spend a significant amount of time in your class each day, and you'll be engaging and learning the content that you chose with your instructors and your peers. You'll also be eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner with those same classmates, and also with other friends that you meet from all over the world. Outside of class can also be used for things like office hours, homework, meeting with class groups, and reading. So you should expect to have about 2 to 3 hours of homework per night, some of which might be work that's building towards a finals class project. Note that some of our Summer at Brown classes include final projects and some don't. So if you know that you want a project-based class, you should pay attention to this in the course description. Outside of this academic work, there are also a range of extracurricular activities that are planned by our amazing student life team. They happen at all hours of the day, so it really doesn't matter when during the day you choose to take a class, as there will be extracurricular activities for students to choose from throughout the entire day. Some events are tied to the academic experience, so just as an example, you could attend a career panel or a lab tour, but others will cover topics like college success and also identity workshops. Finally, there are fun activities like trips to the beach and outdoor movies. And of course, you'll have time for relaxing with your friends on one of Brown's beautiful campus screens. A really important point with all of these events is that students aren't required to do anything. So again, a theme that you might be picking up on is that students will get out of the experience what they put into the experience. And finally, I want to mention that you'll have required floor meetings in the evenings where you'll check in with your RA for curfew, and you'll learn strategies for success in a living and learning environment. Students are required to remain in the residence halls overnight for safety reasons. So that was a nice description of on campus. You might also be interested to know about what our online courses look like, and especially thinking about STEM online courses, and specifically thinking about how a STEM student might engage with their class and with the material online. So one thing I want to start off by saying is that when you look at the catalog, you have 3 modalities that you can choose from in terms of the style of course that you'll take. And that includes asynchronous, mostly asynchronous, and blended courses. They all will range from 2 to 6 weeks in length. So while all of the classes, regardless of the specific structure that you choose, while all of the modalities will give you the chance to engage daily with your instructor, you should consider these modalities when you choose a class, because there are some differences. So if you're looking for a lot of independence and the ability to customize your day-to-day schedule, you should choose asynchronous. If you're looking for a primarily asynchronous content, but you'd enjoy a few opportunities to attend optional live sessions with your instructor each week, you should choose mostly asynchronous. Finally, if you want a course that requires live sessions attended by all of the students each week, so these are required, giving you the most real-time instructor and student engagement, you should choose a blended course. The important thing, though, is that regardless of the modality that you choose, the expectation for the course load in the online space is about 15 hours per week, which breaks down to about 2 to 3 hours per day. During that time, you'll work closely with your instructor and likely a TA. There'll be office hours that are offered and independent reading material, but also assignments, discussions, and even group work that will allow you to interact with and meet students from all over the world. Our online STEM classes are also unique in that many of them involve hands-on projects and experiments that you'll do wherever you're studying from. An important note for all of our online classes, again, as I mentioned before, is that you'll get as much out of the class as you put into the class. So if you engage comprehensively, that will set the tone in the class for both you and also for the other students. Finally, if you choose to take an online class, I want to encourage you to reach out to the instructor and get to know them better. Go to their office hours, talk to them about their research, ask about additional resources that you might be able to tap into. It's a great chance for you to network and to also make long-lasting connections.
So whether you choose an online or an on-campus course, one of the things that we're very proud of is the focus of hands-on work in our STEM classes. The current course catalog highlights many STEM courses with elements of lab experiences, projects, or design built in. For example, courses with laboratory work allow students to gain experience conducting experiments and gaining exposure to laboratory methods. In these inquiry-based courses, students model the scientific process through experiments and projects that are predetermined by the instructor. There are courses in the physical sciences or computer science that allow you to design experiments, create code, and use software such as MATLAB or CAD to design and possibly build. And for courses in engineering, you might also physically build an engineering prototype in a campus space like the Brown Design Workshop. Now, for students who are specifically looking to conduct independent research projects, that means you're answering questions that have not been answered before. We have a suite of offerings titled Course-Based Research Experiences, or CREs for short. CREs are open for students who are 16 plus at the time of your experience on campus and can dedicate your summer to a research experience. For some students, this might be the start of a more advanced science fair or competition entry, or useful for a college application portfolio. Some CRE students from summer 2023 programs are actively engaged with a high school research journal to publish the results of their research. CREs allow students to take a deep dive into a particular area of interest. CRE students work closely with an instructor to design and conduct independent work, and CRE students will present their findings at the end of the course. So for students who are thinking about taking a CRE, you do not need to have participated in a research lab before. However, students should have a solid understanding of the scientific method and should review the individual CRE prerequisites to ensure you've taken the basic requirements first. It's also just as important to have a passion for STEM, a strong work ethic, the ability to be resilient, to be able to adapt to change, and a desire to engage in a unique and rewarding research experience over the summer. We have CRE offerings in both the on-campus and the online spaces. Online, the cancer biology CRE falls into the blended modality that my colleague Karen discussed a few minutes ago. And on campus, there are 5 CRE courses that fall into a hybrid model where you spend the first 2 weeks online, again in that blended format, and then you come to campus to conduct the rest of your research project alongside the peers that you've met online. Now, if you remember that catalog picture we showed you earlier, if you want to see the full list of the 6 research offerings, click on the course-based research experiences filter on the left of the catalog, and that will pull them all up for you.
Great. Thank you so much, Karen and Abby, for a truly very robust understanding of what these courses are and like who should think about them and what would be a good fit for that experience for them. So we're going to transition now to the Q&A portion of tonight's webinar. So I saw some questions coming in, but feel free to use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen and submit as many questions as you would like, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. But we'll start off with some of the pre-submitted questions that we received, and I'll take the first 2 because these did come in tonight, and then also pre-submitted lots of questions around how much does a course cost, how much does the program cost, as well as are scholarships available, is there financial aid? So all of the course costs are listed on our website. So if you head to precollege.brown.edu, at the very top, you'll see costs and aid. So if you click on that, you can actually find the costs for the various programs that you'd be coming to. So tonight we are talking about Summer at Brown courses. And so you'd look under the Summer at Brown portion for that. We do provide some scholarships and financial aid opportunities. Those are also listed on that page. And it is important to note that we do not provide at this moment in time international scholarships. This one, Karen, this one's for you. We did get a question around, for online students, Our material, you talked about hands-on experiments, projects, things like that. Are materials provided for those? If not, would they receive a list, and are they readily available things that they would need to get?
That is a great question, Dan. So yeah, as I talked about earlier, many of the STEM classes do involve hands-on projects or experiments. And that's actually one of the things that we really pride ourselves in, is that you're not going to be at home just sitting in front of a computer by yourself the whole time, just staring at a screen. You're actually going to be doing experiments at home or building or designing. So one thing that I think is really important to say is that you will not be mailed a kit of material for these classes. So when you register for the class, we're not going to ship out a kit of materials for you. But I do want to assure you that we've been really careful to make sure that all of the materials you'll need will be things that are really easily accessible. So either at online places like Amazon, or even at your local grocery store or your hardware store. So just to give you an example of the types of materials that you might need, it's things like rulers, spoons, rubber bands, again, things that are pretty readily accessible. So I just want to give you one example. In the Introduction to Engineering class, you actually, if you register for that class and sign up for that class, you'll be asked to build a prototype of your design. And we have been really careful to make sure that this prototype is what we call a looks like prototype, and can be made from recycled materials that you can find around your house. You could find them around school, any place else that you can get your hands on them. So things like cardboard, could be buttons, anything that you find sort of lying around that you can repurpose. So for any of these classes, again, you won't receive a kit, but you will receive a list of materials before your class starts. And we'll do that so that you have time to obtain the materials before the class begins. So you're really ready to go right when that class starts.
Great, thank you. Abby, this one's for you. I've seen some questions come in, some questions about STEM 910, or STEM for Rising 9th and 10th graders, which we are having a webinar next week with Abby to go over the very specifics of that program. But could you clarify the difference, Abby, between STEM for Rising 9th and 10th graders and the Summer at Brown STEM courses that we're discussing this evening?
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan. And I jumped to the Q&A for a second, and I noticed that as well. So I'm really glad to be able to answer it for you. So yes, I'll be doing a deep dive into the STEM for Rising 9th and 10th graders program next week. So please stay tuned for that, register and come back if you are interested, or share it with folks you know who are interested. So specifically, what are the big differences and what are the similarities? Well, the big difference is STEM for Rising 9th and 10th graders is a program that is specifically designed for students who are 13 through 15 years old, who are rising 9th or rising 10th graders. So that's one main difference. Summer at Brown is accessible for rising 10th graders through graduating seniors, ages 14 through 18. So there's a difference in the age. But in terms of what's actually happening fundamentally within the classes follow the same model that we talked about. So there's 3 hours a day for on-campus courses. STEM 910 will also have some afternoon lab sessions that are built in that I'll talk about next week. But specifically, the courses, they are inquiry-based, they're project-based, they really are hands-on. They're taught by similar folks who teach within Summer at Brown. They're courses where you get to do a deep dive into the content that you're really excited about. The other elements that are very different about the two programs is programmatically. There's a lot of structure and supervision that's built into the STEM 910 program. Again, you'll hear about that next week. And there's more academic freedom and sort of ability to choose activities and participate in different activities that you want within Summer at Brown. So I look at STEM 910 as sort of a structured stepping stone to the pre-college experience that is the Summer at Brown, which models much more the full collegiate experience because our students are a little bit older in Summer at Brown.
Great, thank you. And again, next week at this exact same time, Abby will be back with us again to talk about STEM for Rising 9th and 10th graders. So if you have more questions or interest in that, you can register for that on our website. Karen, we mentioned a little bit this evening about office hours. For those who might be new to that, what are office hours and what do students necessarily do during these office hours?
Yeah, so that's another great question. And I've mentioned office hours a couple of times tonight, but honestly, office hours, I have teenage kids. I know this is not a term that's used in most high schools, at least in the US. But I will say that office hours are a really valuable component of the college experience. And because of that, it will also be part of your experience while you are in Brown pre-college as well. So let me just take a minute to explain what they are. First of all, I guess I want to say that office hours, even though the name has the word hour in it, it's not necessarily an hour long. They actually could be 2 hours long, maybe even 3 hours long. They take place sometimes in person in a common area, for example, sometimes by Zoom. They are an opportunity for you to develop a greater connection with your peers and your instructor. So one thing that's really important to note is that you don't need a specific reason to go to office hours. You can just go and attend and introduce yourself. If you're the only one that's at office hours, you can ask about anything academic. It could be specific course related material, like maybe you're a little bit confused about an assignment question or course content that was talked about that day, but it does not have to be course related. You could ask questions more broadly about the discipline, maybe about applying to undergraduate programs in that field or career options later on, or anything else that you can think of that's tied to that academic experience. And then the other thing to note is that if there are multiple students at office hours, you'll generally all go into that space together. Again, whether it's a physical space on campus or maybe on Zoom, you'll all be in that space together. And you typically will take turns asking questions and actually help each other as well, help each other learn. Usually, if there are multiple people there, instructors will try to cover course-related questions first, so that if there are students that are present that only have course-related questions, they can ask those questions and then they can leave. But you can certainly stay as long as you want to ask as many questions as you have. And then one important point that I also want to, I guess, finish with, and I think I alluded to this a minute ago, is that you don't need to go to office hours knowing all the answers or even knowing exactly what you want to ask while you're there. So you can come to office hours just to listen, just to gain knowledge, and to kind of meet your peers and meet your instructor as well.
Yeah, great. And it's a useful thing to get in the habit of going to, especially if you want that full college experience. Even I remember my college experience, office hours were some of the best experiences, and where you can learn a lot about what you're interested in. So thank you. Abby, questions about CRE. Can you talk a little bit about like what are some past research topics or projects people have done for CRE? And like how have some of these projects continued after that opportunity, if you have any insight on that?
Sure. So I actually just pulled up our course catalog. Remember how I told you you could go to the course catalog and click on course-based research experiences, and then you can actually select all course-based research experiences, and you can see the 6 of them that are right there. I thought it might be helpful just to be able to tell you some of the titles of the CRE courses that we have on offer this cycle. So one of the courses is actually using reverse genetics, working with a microscopic worm, C. elegans. And there are a whole series of questions that can be asked and answered about this microscopic worm. And it's actually a very typically used organism within biotechnology field. So that is one type of course. And there have been lots of questions that have come up and been worked on in that. Another course that we have on offer is the antibiotic drug discovery. And so I'm sure that a lot of you have heard that a lot of organisms and bacteria are becoming antibiotic resistant. So what does that really mean? Why is that a problem? What happens in a medical field? And so what we're actually doing in this course is students are going out and they are finding novel soil microbes. In other words, you are digging to find your own microbes in the soil and actually seeing if you can be the next citizen scientist to contribute an antibiotic resistant microbe into the field of citizen science. So there's actually work that's being uploaded into citizen science databases that then drug companies can take and actually run with that material to see if there's a possibility of finding a new organism there that they can work with. Then we also have nanotechnology. I love this title, Mystery Science or Small Materials Doing Big Things. And when I referenced actually that we have students who are currently working with a high school journal to try to publish some of their research from this past summer, it is specifically with this nanotechnology course. So they are actually designing and creating their own nanomaterials. I won't ruin their publication by telling you what they've done, but they are actually really working to design new nanomaterials for future use. which is really exciting. And then we have another course working with novel yeast, wild yeast strains. So actually so yeast, we're all very familiar with it, right? It's in food and drink preparation, bread, etc. But typically 2 kinds of yeast are used within laboratory settings. And so in this course, you're actually going to get to use wild yeast. So you're really asking questions with yeast strains that are typically not ever used. And you are going to be examining a novel protein folding. And that is a new course we have on offer this year. And then the last CREs are the cancer biology CRE that is happening in the online space, and the hands-on research CRE, where you're really going to be diving into what is research, how do I prepare to become a researcher if that is my future work that I'm most interested in doing. And you'll be learning from experts within the Leadership Alliance at Brown University. So those are some of the examples of courses that we have on offer, and some of the great work that they've done, the students have done, has all been built into those. And I know students have taken this material, and like I said, some of them have used them for science fairs, some of them have used them for portfolios for college, and even this upcoming cycle, we had one student from 2022 who was published, and now some other students who are in the process of trying to publish from this work they just did last year. So,
wow, that's impressive. Thank you. Question just came in. I will try to tackle it, but feel free to jump in, Abby and Karen, if you would like. So basically the question is talking about how a student could enroll potentially for 2 courses at the same time if admitted. So I'll give the Brown pre-college overview, and if you do have any additional for STEM specific courses. In general, I would say we don't necessarily recommend people take 2 courses at the exact same time, just because of the intense commitment that they are to them. And we also want you to enjoy the out of the class experience as well. But it is possible, as long as they do not overlap. The caveat to all of this is that there are some classes that it's just not possible to take 2 at the same time. So what we recommend is, if you are interested in 2 courses or enrolling in 2 courses, reach out to us, and one of our program advisors can kind of walk you through whether or not that is a good choice, if that is something that's feasible or doable. So before you enroll for 2, I would definitely say reach out to us. I don't know if you have anything else to add, Karen or Abby.
Yeah, I'll just add a couple things just to kind of point out, as Dan mentioned. So the courses are like 3 hours per day, right? And you're also going to be doing 2 to 3 hours 2 to 3 hours of homework per night. So you're talking about roughly 5 to 6 hours dedicated to a class per day. And as Dan mentioned, I personally think it's really important that students are able to fully participate in that out of class activities beyond just getting your homework done. So, I actually earlier talked about office hours, talked about a lot of the panels that take place, and even just things like sitting on the green and hanging out with your friends. So as Dan mentioned, it is absolutely possible to take 2 classes at the same time, but you really should think about what you want your experience to look like. And what you want to be able to take advantage of while you're on campus, and whether or not you have the number of hours in the day to do all of that. Yeah, I think, Dan, your suggestion to call and really talk to someone and think that through and talk it through with someone makes a lot of sense.
Great. Yeah. And then I just want to be mindful of time. So I think we'll do one more question. So Abby or Karen, either of you can take this one, but does every session or every course, STEM course, involve lab work? And how much of it is student-led? If you can speak to that.
I can jump in, Karen, and then I'll turn it over to you. Great. So no, not every STEM course is going to involve lab work. And so that's the beauty of having so many, just having the variety of courses that you can look at and you can choose from. So some of the courses are actually going to be really focused on the theoretical content. One class that we have on offer this year is a storybook of particle physics. So if you love physics and you love art, that's a class you want to check out. There are courses where you're going to be able to do a deep dive into the material, but you're not going to get wet or dirty or any of those other things, right? And then there are marine science courses too, if that's something that you're really excited about and you want to see if you can put on a pair of waders and get out into the water. You want to be doing experiments. There is an organic and biochemistry class. So there is a huge variety of different offerings. And that's why we have worked with our instructors to ask them to craft the course descriptions very carefully. We want you to read the course descriptions, take a look at the learning objectives, and again, the prerequisites. I know we've mentioned that a couple of times, but just make sure that the course speaks to you in a way that it sounds exciting and it sounds like something you really want to spend your time this summer doing. Karen?
Yeah, Abby, I think that you described it really well. I would not probably add too much to it, just to highlight again that the course description is really valuable for a lot of reasons, one of which is to make sure that the content itself speaks to you, but also, as Abby mentioned, we have really tried hard to make sure that the course descriptions also will give you a sense of how you're going to be tackling that content. So is it a theoretical class? Is it a class where you're going to be in a lab? Is it a class where you're going to be in a workshop? Pay attention to that information in the course description. And again, choose a course that makes sense for you, not just based on the content, but also based on the way the content is going to be presented. And I guess I just wanted to highlight again, I know we've talked about it many times, but I think it's so important just to highlight again on prerequisites. Make sure that in addition to choosing a class that speaks to you and that is going to be taught in a way that speaks to you as well, make sure that it's a class where you also can find as much success as possible. And to me, that also includes making sure that you're coming in prepared for that course material. So some courses will have specific course, high school courses that they want you to take prior to taking that class. It might be like trigonometry or chemistry. But some also might talk about, like Abby mentioned, CRE courses, really making sure that you have some experience with the scientific method or like really strong time management skills. So I would pay attention to all of that. But bottom line is the course description is where you're going to find all of that information. So just make sure you read them carefully.
Great. Thank you so much to both of you for answering all of these questions. Upcoming info sessions, if you're interested, next week, again, is going to be STEM for Rising 9th and 10th graders. Abby will be back. And then Leap Day will be our Summer at Brown and Student Life information session as well. So you can register for those on our website. And then I know we got a lot of questions this evening that we weren't able to answer. A lot of general questions as well, just about how the program works, residence halls, things like that. Send us an email. Email us at precollege@brown.edu or give us a call at this phone number during business hours. And we're more than happy to answer those and any additional questions that come to mind. Again, we have a whole team of program advisors who are amazing. They're the encyclopedias of the department. They can really help you narrow down like what kind of course you want to take. They can help answer any questions about the experience on campus or online. They're really your go-to person. And we pride ourselves that when you call, a human answers. So definitely reach out to us if you have any additional questions. And then finally, if you don't already, follow us on social media at Brown Pre-College. We try to highlight the student experience as much as possible. We have lots of day in the life. We have videos and photos that students have taken. And so if you really want to see just a glimpse of what it kind of looks like to come to Brown Pre-College, definitely follow us there. So thank you again to Abby and Karen for joining us this evening, sharing about STEM and CREs so passionately. Make me want to take one just from how you shared it. And thank you to everyone who joined us virtually tonight to learn a little bit more about Brown Pre-College and some of these exciting courses that we have. So, and again, if you have questions, follow up with us.